allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One change to the agenda, under action items, add ABC visitors guide.
Take it off old business.
Think about those business. Any other changes? Need a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Support. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Roll call.
Bodly.
Here.
Chapman. Clark.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Zelenak.
Here. I need a motion to approve the April 8th minutes. And, I'm sorry, not the April 8th, the March 11th. ZBA minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes. Wednesday, March 11th. ZBA.
Should just keep,
I should say yes.
as, on the one that the meeting was called to order by President Eckhardt, should that say village president, as it's not the president of the ZBA or the chairman. It would just be listed. The only thing I would.
All right, that's fine, I don't see any problem on that.
I would agree with it.
Okay, we got a motion to accept the ZBA minutes. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Minutes of the last March 11th meeting of the village council.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
We just have a typo in Stan's name at the top, and it's L-E-N-S.
You good?
Aye.
All right, have a motion and a support. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Public comment. Someone, Ray, your floor. 3 minutes, please.
I'm from the local VFW folks here, and we have changed some property, we thought, and it's across from next to the bank. And I understand that you people have to vote on that. We had it titled under the village name.
Right. And we do have to vote on it because it is our property.
Yes, we've had the intention of subsequently getting our money put in there.
Yep. I guess, and what we determined from our last meeting was that we need something from you to show what's actually going to happen before we can make a decision.
Well, we have volunteers to give us the money, but we can't collect any money until we know we got the property.
Okay,
And along with that, I understand that the village would give us electricity in there. You don't need much, just enough for a flag, you know. And
I think if the council approves the use of that lot for this purpose,
Yeah.
then I'm sure that we would agree to maintain it once it's there.
there won't be much maintenance, and I think we got enough men to take care of it, you know.
Yeah,
Just, so we got our own memorial,
okay.
so.
Have you guys put together a proposal of what you wanna do, what this memorial's
That
gonna look like?
we already have, but we can't go in and go get the okay.
But if we could have that proposal so we could look at it, so we know what you're talking about, that's what we would like before we say you can do it.
Well, we got some different designs.
Yeah. If that's what we're looking for, something that give us some idea of what you have planned, so. Can you get that to me?
Yeah, I can get it probably next week,
That's fine.
all right?
So it's our understanding also that the township already offered up property for this VFW memorial. Is there a reason why that's not sustainable or attainable anymore? Why we would wanna, and this is just my opinion, why would we wanna use a prime lot in Central Lake to do this when the property's already been provided for it? That'd be my own
I want to
question.
know why you don't like the other property, the one without the cemetery.
Well,
Or the VFW hall.
no, there's no room there, but there's a good place for people to see it. It's not hidden back in the woods someplace. And people can see it, and there's enough activity around there. 4th of July, or there's tents up there in the neighborhood, and people have car shows. Those people don't have any place to sit other than sit in their car that they're showing. But they'd have an opportunity to see the memorial and have a place to rest while their husbands are all day showing up his car.
If you can bring us something so we can look at something to see what you have in mind, that would help us,
All right.
okay? Any other public comment?
We have supplied each of you with a packet for a change to the nuisance ordinance that we would like to have considered. Some folks here in town would like to have a couple of hens and a little coop in the backyard, and right now that's not possible with the nuisance ordinance as it is.
Right.
So we've gathered some petition signatures and made up a little packet for you so you could see what we're proposing.
Okay. And I'm sure we've all received it, right? I've seen it.
Okay.
Yep.
Now that we have it, we will have to discuss it, I think, some more. One of the things that concerns me is that your petition that you sent, I think it had 51% of the signatures were from out of town, and some of them even out of state. And I'm not quite sure why that makes a difference to us if they don't live here. So,
If it helps you, quite a few of the ones that were from out of state were people who have relatives that live within the village that support them being able to have backyards.
we have it, and it will,
Or seasonal people that live here.
huh?
And or seasonal people that live here in the summertime that would like to have that opportunity as well.
Any other public comment? Thank you. Scott, please report.
Thank you. Hopefully everybody get a chance to look at this last month's reports. Really busy, a lot of time spent specifically on traffic and patrol. Was able to finish up on the USDA grant, which you guys, it's already on the agenda tonight as far as finishing that up. Let's see what else. And everything else is on there. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions, concerns?
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have, one of the things in your packet for later, and I'll just hand it out right now, is the equipment bid price.
Is that the same one that's on the back here already?
It's an updated one, so go ahead and just grab a new one.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why is when I presented that in your packets the other day, I didn't have the final one on the bottom, so. So you can have it now, and then we'll talk about it in 2 minutes. sorry, was there any questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
DPW, Sam?
Everybody hopefully has a copy of the DPW report. The only thing that I need to change on that is number 4. It says 3 water services have come unthawed, that number is now 22. And I still have 6 of them remaining. So if you go down to number 10, it says we picked up 1,400 feet of above ground water line. That is now about 4,000 feet.
You're on thought quick.
Yeah, bunch of 19 of them I thawed yesterday, or the day before.
Have you found any broken
We-
ones when they were done?
We have not found any broken water lines yet. We've had a couple broken meters, which is to be expected with that many services freezing. The water main up by the school went very well. I hated to let it go that long, which I think everybody knew that, but in the long run, it was definitely the right decision.
Worked out perfectly.
It took us about 4 hours to get it all dug up and repaired back. We did not hire an excavator in to dig it. We did it all ourselves with it in-house with our own equipment.
That the stress crack or fracture that you figured it
Yep,
would be?
just that cast iron, cracks right perfectly straight.
There's some volunteer help and,
And I want the township sent their 2 guys up to help us, so I want to say thank you to the township for letting them 2 guys come up and help us. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
One, and I don't know if it's as important here, but in Sam's report, Sam, have we started to talk about a brush cleanup again this year as we have done in the past? Is that something we?
I'm thinking I'll bring that next month to you guys,
Okay.
and
I don't
we'll
know,
get it
sometimes your
scheduled.
people are starting to.
I think we'll get it scheduled towards the end of the month if we can of May.
Okay.
Thank you.
Committee reports, there's no correspondence. Committee reports, Rob?
Lights, I've got an email into GE to get 3 Cobra heads at the campground at 100 watts each. Lowering our wattage from 250 watts each. We'll have some savings there. I don't know how much they're gonna cost each. GE's yet to get back to me yet. Let's see, streets, on March 18th, myself, Sam, and 2 engineers from Bodly and Ron Brewer met at the corner of Howard and Ballard to discuss the flooding issue in front of his apartments there. We looked at a couple things here, and their preliminary idea was to dig a sewer line 8-inch to 10-inch diameter, a depth of 3 or 4 feet on both sides of Ballard, with catch basins on either side of the street, so as either rainwater and or snow melt water accumulates, it goes into these catch basins, and runs down Ballard on either side and ties in with a drain on M88. Hopefully that'll alleviate the situation. But while we're doing that, that road would have to be repaved. If we're gonna repave a road, we don't wanna have an aging water line underneath there. So we have to think about replacing water lines, because we look foolish if we did that. And sure enough, that winter, I'm sure the water line will break underneath that new road. So that's something you have to consider there. The next thing, if we do go ahead and do this, we're gonna have to take money from another project. So it's robbing Peter to pay Paul at this point. Ballard Street is slated to be paved 2 years down the road, so something else would not get paved.
Rob, quick question, then, when you're talking the sewer lines down to 80, are 88 sewer system or catch basins, are they live catch basins too, or no, they're not just dead bullet?
No, they go to the creek.
Okay.
So our total budget for roads this year is approximately $125,000. We've yet to get a bid back from Gordy Frazier on how much the project will cost. So it's all preliminary, I can't even speculate at this point. Let's see. Again, just, where do we want to put our money for this year? And that's something that we'll have to consider later on when the bid comes out. Sidewalks, we're not going to do anything with sidewalks till we figure out what roads are cracked, and if anything cracks underneath the sidewalk in terms of a water line, to see if that needs to be replaced. But as spring wears on here, we are going to have to start discussing sidewalk replacement again. That's it.
Thank you. We'll skip sewer and water tonight unless somebody has something to add to it. Any of the committee members? Okay. Law enforcement, Bill?
Everything I have is gonna be covered in the bid, and so I don't have anything additional.
Melissa?
You guys have my report in front of you. Requested the policy, the communications policy from the clerk, and asked her to forward it to Joe and Rob, where we met on the 23rd to discuss. I think you saw the agenda I gave out at the last meeting. Some of the things we talked about were developing a committee mission statement and activity guidelines, updating the communications policy to bring forward for review, making some corrections on the website, developing some strategy and guidelines for information receipt and dissemination to the public, developing some standard operating procedures, email addresses for council members who would like to have one, promotions for the village, including a brochure regarding Thurston Park. And then we also talked about the event permit, clarification as to who uses it, when, and so forth. Below there is a little example of policy versus procedure. I plan a little soon so you understood what I was talking about there. And that's it.
Any questions? Joe, finance personnel? Thank you.
Not a lot going on. One, the MML Workers' Compensation Fund audit is due April 17th. It's just an update of materials. The yearly audit is going to be next month, May 11th through the 13th. I talked with Bill and Rod on the request from the DPW about vacation reimbursement that was unused, and also we discussed utility billing and a little bit of the, are we going to give a credit for the run water? If we do give a credit, what should we do for for the credit? And again, we went back to last year's equation, and I think that it would be good for us if we were to put this in our ordinance, so we don't have to go back every year and figure a new equation. This will be that if the council were so choose to give a run water advisory, that we use 150 gallons a day times the number of days of run water advisory divided by 75 cents, which is of 1,000. So, and that would be the equation that would always be used, so we're not redoing this every time. And so that would be my recommendation, is that we just add that into our rate ordinance and our water, which would be Chapter 2, Utilities, Section 2.1. It would be 10 or addition H, and we would give the example for if the council so chooses to give the credit for a run water advisory. And that's pretty much what we worked on.
So I think to bring that back next month with the proposed change and we vote, or?
I think that if the council thinks that we should, well, I don't think we can do it now because it's not an action item. I think we can draft and put it in and let the council look at it and choose if that's what we want, but I think the main reason for doing this is so we're not every year going, what's a pencil size and how much are we gonna do? We spent a lot of time last year doing that, so. We did not have any consensus on whether we should give a credit or not. I think everybody kinda had their own opinion.
Can we put cost per thousand instead of 75 cents?
We can do that
In case the cost goes up,
Okay,
so you don't have to change it.
yeah, times per $1,000, okay,
It'll be an action item next month.
okay. Other than that, that's pretty much all I had.
Parks and public property, Lela, thank you.
We haven't heard anything back yet on some of our work that we have to have done, especially on the Donaldson Park up by the school. However, it looks like the reservations coming into the park down here are exceeding our expectations, thank you. And Lyle will be coming up about the 19th of April, and at that time, we'll get a chance to talk to him, make sure that we have things taken care of properly.
Anybody have anything for Lela? Okay, thank you. President's report. There was a group of us that met with a developer and engineer that is proposing to bring a business into town requiring a zoning change for property that is currently in residential, and they want to have it changed into mixed use. So it's in the planning commission's hands at this point, and that will be on their agenda, their next meeting next month. So there is a group in the village, a fairly large group, that are meeting periodically to determine the highest and best use of the Cleo Purdy fund monies, and most of it's being with the school behind it. But I did attend this past month a meeting with that group, and it's amazed me on how generous she was to us. So that's going on. Ralph Hines is seeking donations to construct a warning track at the girls softball field, so if anybody's so inclined to want to give a gift of some sort, that's going on out
Do
there.
we know how
So
much he's trying to do?
I don't know what that is. A what?
a warning track at the outfield fence
So you know that you're, before you
before you hit.
run into the fence.
It's a 10-foot border on the inside of the outfield fence of diamond dust.
Oh, we haven't had that ever?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Do we know how much he's looking for?
I think he's looking for about $3,500, and he has committed so far about 18. It's my understanding that there will be an AMVET organization created. Is that right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So that's another thing going on. I've had a few people ask me about village cleanup. I said we're too late for this year, but it would definitely be on the agenda for next year. I did tell a gentleman this morning that we sent out 85, 90 letters to address some of the nuisance junk around town, and that was pretty well received, I think, and taken care of. So it should alleviate some of the concern for a spring cleanup anyway, so. And I spoke with the attorney this morning regarding the quiet title action for the property on the north end of Intermediate, and he said by the end of this month, we should have clear title, and then we would be able to proceed with the grant, so.
Wonderful.
That's the goal by the end of the month anyway. And that's all I have, unless somebody has questions.
I do have a question. The planning commission was given the packet for the Dollar General, or the group that's trying to bring in this store. My only concern with it, while this, it definitely needs to be dealt with, we had a business owner who's existing in Central Lake, addressed the council about 3 months ago on a sign ordinance, and I think that should be probably one of the first issues to deal with on an existing business.
Okay, that's pretty much run its course, but,
How did that run its course when we didn't have a planning commission?
the zoning administrator, in his last conversation, I assumed, right, isn't that what you told me yesterday, that?
Yeah, he was directed to bring it to the planning commission, so he hasn't read it to the planning commission yet, so.
Okay, so it's not as though it's changed or he can do anything, it just, okay, he has to bring it to the planning commission.
Correct, he made some modifications and came back in compliance, so we're back to where it should be. If he wants to address the change issue, he has to bring it back to a planning commission,
Okay.
which we currently have now, so.
Okay. That answers that question. Thank you.
Larry, I have a question on, back to the Dollar General thing here. Is this from Brian Graham, Village of Central Lake, information to be included, application zoning ordinance amendment? He's got a series of 10 questions here, and then he answers those 10 questions. Is that in his estimation, or is this in
The
general?
answers are from the developer and the engineer, not.
Okay, because it doesn't say who authored this or anything. So who, I guess then the question becomes, who authored this?
The developer.
Developer.
The engineer. I think those are the two documents.
Well, it's untitled is all.
Okay. And I didn't bring them in here, my copy of it, so.
Midwest GLLC Would that be the,
This was the questions that Scott gave them when they showed up,
Uh-huh.
and then their response to those questions. I believe.
Okay, so they should. All right. All right.
And the attorney's letter is in response to those.
To that.
To those documents.
All right.
Anybody have anything else? Approval of the bills. Motion to approve prepays of $89.5708, payroll of $69.9956, payables of $27.511.69.
Motion to pay the bills as presented.
Support.
Been moved and supported to accept the bills. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. No, roll call, sorry you guys.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Teach an old dog new tricks. Okay, under new business, we have a 2015 Northern Lights Economic Alliance Annual Luncheon. My understanding 6 or 7 went from here last year to that. And I guess I'm asking who wants to go this year. I think we should go, they've done a lot of work for this village. And it's always good to show our face at something. Huh?
Petoskey
It
this year?
is Petoskey this year.
Is it the casino or is it the college again?
College.
First year was at the casino. I believe when we purchased that, the purchase prices were a table
If
cake.
you get a table, it's a better deal,
And I think that's what we normally do,
Yeah.
do a table.
Yeah.
Melissa and I are gonna go. I've
And I
seen
think
well.
last year, maybe we invited, you know, if it wasn't all of us, but I went as like a change of person,
Yeah.
and
I
I
think
forget
Patty Hill went
Scott
also,
and
Scott
Patty
went.
went. Yeah.
The date was, what was the date on that, the 20th, May 20th? If other council members want to go and it becomes a room invitation, I've been to them, so I would step out of it, but if there's room, I would like to go again also. I can drive. Kick them out of the car.
Sounds like we'll have enough.
There, hey, yeah, you can be a chauffeur.
Here's the ship we have.
The next thing you know, they're gonna be like the little kids kicking my seat. As long as you're not throwing stuff at the driver, I'll wait.
So if we reserve a table, we should have enough interest to fill it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're back, you're back.
That's all.
You're back by
We were back by like
Yeah, you're back by
1
3
o'clock, 2 o'clock, something like that. It wasn't the best food.
Your son on your side?
Your socks match.
Okay, we have 2 action items. Lights for the new police car. Scott, I'm gonna let you present this.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully you got a chance to look it over. The top part of it, yours didn't come color, but mine does. The top section just basically breaks down everything, what the car represents as far as purchase price of the car, the equipment, the graphics, the extra lights, the body camera system, and then to install some things. Gives you a grand total of $40,277. The middle section breaks it down as far as who's contributing what. 35% of that comes from the USDA grant, 51% comes from the village, and 14% comes from the tribal grant. So then when you get down to the bottom, when I gave this to you last month, we kind of was a done deal until we met with the USDA. They require anything over a $2,500 purchase, with the exception of the vehicle, has to be bidded out. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that before I did all this thing to you guys last week? So not a big deal. I just had to go back and actually get actually go back and actually verify the quotes and then have them send it back to me. Which I didn't think was gonna be a problem because they already gave it to me one time, but then getting it back from them was quite a bit of a problem, but. And then by doing that, I could also add the lights and some of the equipment together, so it made it well over, somewhere around the, $6,000 range, so. So at the bottom, you're gonna have 3 or 4 different vendors. And I put the prices down of what the prices they gave, and I've got the actual quotes here if you need those to look at. The first one happens to be Winder Police Equipment, and their prices for the lights, which are $4,802. And then in order to put those lights in, you gotta find somebody to put them in, and that's why I found somebody to do it for $1,650. So their bid is $6,452. The second company is Fleet Safety Equipment. They're out of Texas. They only sell the equipment. They don't sell the services to put them in there. So it's kind of a hard estimate or comparable to give you. So, theirs is $4,669, which is a little bit cheaper on the lights. But then in order to find somebody to put those lights in, it's kind of like mixing and matching parts and services and stuff like that. So it's not really a comparable bid. But I put it in there for you. Gulls is another company that just sells the equipment. I've asked them 3 times, a couple phone calls, a couple faxes, they never responded back, so I wasn't gonna beg them to make a quote. The fourth one is a company out of Traverse City called Telrad. They can do both the lights and the install, and their price is $6,740 for a total bid, so. So realistically, I tried to get you 3, or actually tried to get you 4, you only got really 2 that are comparable, which would be number 1 and number 4. So, and we've done business with both of them. I guess the one we dealt with most recently that have done both of our cars is the top one. It's a combination between Winder Police Equipment and a gentleman by the name of Dave Kopkow, who's a retired sergeant from Antrim County Sheriff's Department, who does it as a side business now that he's retired. So lives in Elk Rapids, so like I said, he's done both of our cars in the past. So somebody that's pretty credible, somebody that's nearby, and somebody that, according to the quotes, it's a couple $100 cheaper. So
I think what we need is a motion to approve one of those bids, correct?
yes,
Because we've approved the total purchase
yeah,
previously.
and it doesn't change anything that we've done in the past. It's just one of the requirements for the USDA is that you guys are aware of what's going on, and we've been pretty transparent the whole time here as far as where the money is or what's it getting spent on. But they want to see something in our board meeting and in our minutes that shows that you guys are aware of who is the vendors and who is spending the money and how it's stuff like that. So
Okay. Go ahead.
Scott, are you recommending then Winder and
Winder?
Kopkow?
yes, I mean,
Is that what you-
and based on the fact that they've been doing most of our equipment installs and service for the last.
And
10 years.
they can do or he can do it in the time frame that you have to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think time frame was the issue.
Maybe one of the things I'd be concerned about was some of the other outfits, whether you can actually get them to do it in the time frame you want them to do it.
Well, and Telrad's a good service too, but unfortunately, you got to be put on a list there.
That's what I mean.
They would be,
I know how that works.
we would be probably his top priority.
Well, I can make a motion that we vote for Winder and
I'll support you on that one.
I'll support you.
Well, I'll support you.
Okay, we've got a motion and support to accept the Winder Police Equipment bid of $64.52. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we gotta do this roll call thing here.
Bodly.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Yep.
Zelenak.
Yes.
Eckhardt.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
ABC Visitor's Guide is for an ad in this year's flyer. They expanded. We've only had just Central Lake in the past with this publication, but they've decided to add Alden and Bel Air to it. give it a little more meat. And we have supported it in the past, we've advertised it in the past, and they're asking if we wanna do it again.
Is this an ad that says Village of Central Lake, or is it for Thurston Park, or an all-encompassing thing, or what is it?
That's, I think that's what we have to make a decision on. How far do we wanna go with it?
The cost of it,
Yeah,
or all,
cost of it.
how much you wanna do, what you, in the
It's at least
past,
$285 at the least.
last year we opted out of this, I believe the township also opted out of it, and it was due to the fact that we have done our own flyers, they're out in rest areas, Rachel sent them off with, welcome center areas, with the great invention of that internet thing. People pull up Thurston Park and they get all kinds of stuff, Central Lake, it's there. So last year we opted out of it.
We're gonna have the same advertisement this year in the roadside sign. Are we going to?
Online we'll have advertising, but
Well, we just made
Our
a bunch
advertising
of
hasn't
flyers.
changed.
We just made a whole bunch of flyers this last fall.
okay.
They're gonna get redone eventually too.
Well, they should, that should be a
I'd
line.
rather spend the money there making a better flyer.
I would agree with you, I would opt to, or move to opt out of this.
I would
Was
Is
it
there
my
a
opinion?
question if we are intending on doing our own advertising, or?
And that's what we did last year, I think it worked pretty good, it's all over the internet, and so I would make a motion to opt out of it.
We do a pretty good job of advertising on our own.
Is there a support for the motion?
Yes.
It's been moved and supported, any further discussion? The motion is we will not buy into the ABC brochure. All those in favor, yeah, there's no money being spent. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. That's it as far as actions. I have a feeling there's a bunch of people in the audience that would like to at least hear us discuss some of the chicken issue.
Cluck, 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 cluck.
Before we
I didn't go, I mean,
Yeah, we do.
there's someone down by me, has got chickens in town.
All right.
And you're against it?
Been recommended that we go through the rest of our old business and we'll come back to that.
I used to talk to dudes over there, I know what's going on.
So that's-
Michigan Citizen
People are
Planner,
hungry.
old business.
Eggs are good for you.
Did I put that on there? Because I don't remember anything.
well, I was concerned
We
because
mentioned at the
last,
planning commission meeting that
That's
they're,
what had my hand.
up to where people wanted to go.
well, last month you
Oh,
set
okay.
this to the side and
Yes.
said this is the training that Brian Graham was gonna do for everybody for the cost of one person, so that's,
Right. And after we sat through that, I was a little disappointed. So I came back and said, if there's somebody interested in going to this, I'd find the money for it, depending on how many people wanted to go. I think the planning chair and the ZBA chair are probably the two most useful for that, for this. So,
Most benefit of
yeah, get the most benefit out of it, so.
I guess where my questions are gonna come up with, one, where are we looking at getting the monies for that?
There is some money budgeted for council training.
Okay,
That would be one of them, if there's just one of us that goes.
okay.
And I'd extend that to the planning commission and somebody.
Okay, and then my other concern, I guess, is this is, well, I'm all for training, I've said this many times, and everybody knows it, but this is really going to lay to the aspects of the Dollar General coming in and different aspects of that. And when that happens, Brian Graham is gonna be here, he's gonna run our meeting, and we're gonna pay him to do it. And so do we really wanna train somebody to go do a job that we're gonna pay Brian to do again?
I think this is more, Joe, the person having the training that's gonna go on for the next, how many years that person is the ZBA chair or the planning commission chair. This is a big deal with this development, but that doesn't mean this training's not gonna be able to help the
Further down the
planning
road.
commission and all of us, I mean,
Well, I think it would help the chair of the planning commission and zoning area to advise us.
and especially with all 7 new planning commission people, I'd be pretty comfortable with at least 1 or 2 of us knowing
But
the law.
the only reason I'm questioning, guys, it's $295 a person, so we just paid Brian $295 to do this training for 14 people. And now we're saying Brian's training wasn't very good, and I think that doesn't speak very well to Brian's actions and what he did, so I'm not against the training, don't get me wrong.
Worse things.
Joe, did you feel Brian's training was adequate?
I've sat through quite a bit of the ZBA meetings with zoning appeals. I sat through the wrongful removal of clerks, and all them processes are pretty much the same. And so where I go back to is, in the event that we're gonna have a public hearing and where this goes in front of the board of either the ZBA or the planning commission, Brian Graham's gonna be sitting here and he's gonna be running a meeting. We're gonna be paying him to run a meeting that we're paying for these people to go for training to do. I'm not sure I see the purpose in that aspect. If it goes further, like you said, that there's more, I agree with that,
Well,
because I
it's-
believe in training the people is good.
I want, what Brian presented, I don't think is, he's doing 1 hour. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 meetings at 3 hours each. That's a pretty significant training time. If we calculate it at a group discount, if there's 4 more people at $275, that's a pretty low cost training for that number of hours. We spent a little more training the clerk on things, so I don't really have a problem with the money, and the extent that the training is gonna go, I think it's a really good idea.
It's $1,100 basically then, is what you're
If 4
talking.
people
If
go,
four people
if
go.
4 people go.
Would we, if we were to do it, would we be further off to send the chairs of the ZBA, the chair of the planning commission, and let them come back and train the people themselves then and inform them rather than sending a bunch of people?
Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
I mean,
Because
don't
they're
get me
gonna
wrong,
give us data and training stuff that we can bring back and share, that would be totally great.
Melissa, the chair of the ZBA, I think
I mean, yeah, and I'm not.
you should be home for sure, not a shadow of doubt in my mind.
That was just my question, that's all.
So, you can do it?
Yeah. You need a motion on the floor, I'll make that motion, we send 2 at least.
One at least, and
One.
I think we gotta be specific of who we're sending and,
Well, Melissa's the head of
Judy,
the,
you don't wanna make that time commitment, I'm assuming, do you?
I can get a scholarship through our insurance company.
Yeah, we can, we check that out.
Yeah.
That wasn't available to us.
out of curiosity, Judy, how do you get a scholarship through the township insurance for a village function?
It is not termed village, it is planning training.
Okay.
And the Michigan underwriters let one person be trained on planning and zoning, even though we don't have planning and zoning.
Our tax dollars.
And
There you go. If the two of them wanna go.
Okay, one person?
all right. Okay, I made the motion then, we'll send at least 1. At least 1, how's that?
That sounds good,
Then it's open.
sounds good.
All
I
right,
support the motion to send one person for training
there you go.
from the ZBA.
From,
From the ZBA.
Chaining the chairman of the ZBA. to be
Chair.
specific.
There we go. All right, motion on the floor and supported. Further discussion? Do that because they're not action.
It's not an action item. When is the training?
April 30th.
April 30th.
first one.
We can,
Can I make a motion to amend the
Agenda to
to
this.
move the Michigan Citizens Planner Guide up to an action item?
yes,
And I make a motion to amend the agenda.
we got a support. Any further
I'll
discussion?
support that, what the
All
heck is
right.
getting going.
You know what we're doing? We got a motion on the floor to move,
Being recorded.
we got a motion on the floor to move Michigan Citizen Planner to an action item,
Action item C.
action item C. All those in favor of the motion say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? No. Sorry.
And then I'll make a motion to
The
send.
agenda minutes.
Pardon me?
Get the agenda minutes then too. The agenda.
That's what we did, we just amended the agenda. And then I'll make a motion to send the chairman of the ZBA to the Michigan Citizens
Already got a
Planner
motion on
training.
the floor for that.
It went bad because
Did it go down?
Not voted on.
Well, gotta be wooden. Okay.
Moved and
whatever.
supported to send the ZBA chair to
Joe moved and
Michigan
Yep.
I thought Lela did.
Okay, I can support, yeah, yeah,
I thought you did. but
yes,
that's-
yes. Okay, go ahead.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We've already discussed the VFW Memorial. Utility billing. I didn't put that in there.
I think we said last month that it was gonna be addressed at this month's council, and it wasn't put on as an action item, so I don't think that we can take action on that. We could postpone it for another month.
Is that the formula we were talking about
No,
earlier?
this is actually, this is, are we going to get it, or are we not going to get it?
Oh,
The
okay.
formula was my presentation, I'm gonna bring back in May also. So
Okay.
the council has to make that decision, are they or are they not?
All right.
And since it's not an action item,
Right. Let's leave it, we'll table it for another month.
Water bills go out at the end of the month,
Water bills go out at the end of the month.
end of
we can
April,
amend the agenda.
so you might want to amend the agenda.
We're gonna amend the agenda
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda.
by moving utility
To move
billing to
Old
action item.
business D to action items D.
Chuck. Cheers.
Okay, we have an action item to. We need a motion, I don't think I've
I
heard a
made the
motion.
motion, we need to,
I'll support it.
All right, motion and support for adopting the utility billing.
No, let's do amend the agenda.
Amend the
Yep,
agenda.
you're right. I'm sorry.
Now we gotta discuss, are we going to give it or not?
We're here at the amending the agenda part.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, motion's carried. Sorry.
We'll get with it next month.
we're gonna have a fun job of this one,
What's that?
Joe. We're gonna have fun with this one.
All right, so now we have an action item under D. Do we want to or not want to adjust the billing for water usage?
I say yes, we should do it, so I make a motion that we, well, I'll make a motion here, and then we'll discuss it, but I'd make a motion that we credit utility bills, water bills at the rate of 150 gallons per day times 44 days of the one run water advisory at 75 cents a thousand currently, which would equal $4.95 per account that is active. I also in that motion would make that anybody who was supplying other homes through their meter have just a plain service charge.
People that, the problem with that is the people that are drunk right now, the snowbirds that leave, are going to get your $8.50 credit, or your, what is it?
$4.95. But Rachel, if they have a turn off notice, she will not credit them.
Many of people leave and don't get the water turned, they leave their house heated. Now, then people receive a credit, and they weren't here.
I can't see you. I can't see you.
Can I say something, Larry?
Yes.
Just because I was involved in this, we did a few years ago, and this is just my personal thought. Number one, we're talking about $5, right?
Yes.
There's an expense then to credit that to everybody's account. And then I think, we supply water to people in this village cheaper than any other municipality, almost in the state of Michigan, okay? And then on top of that, it bothers me that now the person, and please don't let me take this wrong, because I know it could happen outside of your control. The water now freezes because you didn't let your water run. You went against the advisory for whatever reason. You didn't want to go in your drain fields. You didn't want to hear the noise. Your water now freezes. So now, Sam and the guys go to the expense to supply you with water for free, which your neighbor graciously now allows you to hook to their meter to take for free. So now the person that caused the problem costs the village time, plus gets free water because now we're not going to bill the neighbor. The neighbor also gets free water because they've allowed to let the person use it, and we're talking about $5. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I don't think it's necessary personally. And if my water freezes, I'll foot it myself too. But I'm just saying, I think it's a lot of confusion and a lot of issues for $5 a person. And I know I'm the one who the first year we did it, and Joe was involved, and we felt good. And then when we realized the dollar amount and stopped and thought about it, we thought, oh my gosh, what are we doing?
think maybe it takes as much as to bill it, each one as they're being credited.
Right.
By the time you get down to the
I'd like to drop that
clerical part of it.
completely.
I can't we just charge everybody minimum water service?
That actually creates more work on the clerk, because each account will be different by water usage, and so each account will have a different input to it, so each one, it's not as though she can just go through and say, $5. Each one's gonna have a variable that has to be calculated, and there's much more work to use like that route.
Just for that time frame. I have a question about, like, Sam said he's had a number of times where he goes back a second or a third time. Those are the people that I wonder, do we charge them when we've been out there 2 or 3 times?
If this
That
time
to
it's called,
me
if
seems
this time
more than,
because it's not in our ordinance too, but I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Bel Air, considered Bill's child, Josh is in Bel Air, and his froze, they called him, cost him $80 and say, yeah, you're
right,
right.
we're going to the same home 3
I
times.
think that's more extreme though. I mean, they don't even come out and look and see if it's their problem or yours. They just tell you, call a plumber. If they come back and say, well, your water main's froze, then.
In years past, back 20 years ago, we used to do the flat rate, exactly what Larry
Yeah,
said.
I remember
The
that.
the bookkeeper
We
used
also
to
didn't
go,
charge for water usage back then.
the bookkeeper used to go in, if you had a 604 as a previous number, they re-upped it to whatever the new number is, and them two numbers matched, so it went out as a flat rate. That's how we did it in the previous years. Last time we did the $4.50 credit, I believe.
$8.33 last year, yeah.
It would sure be nice if we could go to, and I shouldn't even be bringing it up now, but read radios, that's the only way to go now. Because if you ever fell in that situation, when you're gonna do a water let run, you go out, push a button, collect all the water readings in, so you go ahead and do a billing program at that date. Now you know who used how much water and where the water went. So you lost no revenue. And I have a meeting May 7th, if anybody's interested in coming down to the garage. I'll give you a time on RF radio read.
Same program we looked at a couple of years ago.
Totally new one from Verizon.
May what, 7?
May 7th. I'll give you a time when I get it back.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor and a support to, all right, we don't have.
I don't know, I didn't know, I thought just asking, I don't know if
I
anybody
think
supported the motion.
I think we had discussion after you spoke.
All right.
Okay.
So the question is, do we give a credit or do we not?
We have a motion with no support
Okay, the motion was,
to give the credit according to the formula,
Yes.
right?
I'll support.
Been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Rachel, what do you think about this? You're the one dealing with the paperwork end of it.
I think it's the easier avenue to call.
If we're giving a credit. It's much easier to not give one and just let the units work.
Yeah.
But if you go with Christmas,
I make the motion because I've heard from a lot of residents that they should think we should. And you hear that, still many of them, but you hear from residents a lot of what we should do. So,
You do what?
that we should give the credit.
Okay, you go ahead.
That's a motion on the floor. Are we done discussing?
Well, so Rachel, which is easier for you, to credit or not to credit the bills? You kinda vacillated there.
Well, to not credit would be easier, but to do the simple flat rate credit would be, you know, to use the formula would be the least cost effective to the village. Because the next billing cycle will be 6 months of water usage versus the 3 months. So if you do just the maintenance charge, which is the 24, it'd be 24.72 or 75.
74.
I'll have to go in and credit each account for the 6 months of water usage versus just giving them that standard credit.
So are you saying that flat rate is? Oh,
So she's saying using this formula is the easiest for her to do if we're giving a credit.
okay. But no credit is clearly the easiest.
Yes.
Yeah.
No credit, just be a regular billing.
That's not a fun.
But it's about making people happy.
Yeah.
And a little bit of.
How many people out here would want that
Yeah.
credit?
I think
Once
we
you
got
have
one with
people
it.
in the audience.
Who wants
$5,
credit?
it's gonna kill you to.
Well, there's some senior citizens that might hurt them.
Security around here, they can't afford all that extra money for a
Right.
hotel.
They're upside income people.
The village of Bel Air posted to their page as well today that they were crediting their residents.
Traverse
their
City
water
credited, if you have to do it,
I mean,
they credit it. I don't care about $5, but if you have to
How
do
many
it.
hours did you have?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a support to use the formula now and in the future to cover the expense.
Just now, we can't do the future.
I've managed it.
Oh, okay,
Just to use this formula.
just to use the formula, that's what our motion is,
Formula for credit.
Right.
for credit.
Credit.
It made a change as the water rates go, the water
All right.
cost goes up.
All in favor of this, say aye.
Yes.
Opposed?
No, $5.
We're gonna use, and then we can vote on the formula next, where we change the ordinance.
We'll bring an ordinance,
Yeah.
change to it to see, and we have to make an ordinance to change the ordinance. So,
Okay. Item E, DPW vacation time. You met with them?
I did not meet with the DPW guys. Sam at last month's meeting, council meeting, asked if him and Steve, I believe it was.
Well, Jeff had personal time.
Okay, and Jeff, personal time, that one I didn't catch, I guess, but asked if they could be reimbursed this year for unused vacation time due to the hard winter. So the report you guys have in front of you is the 2009, 2010, 2011. For some reason, we couldn't find 2012 data, but we have 13 and 14's data for all the vacation time for each guy and what they used in the past years, how much there was rolled over. And from there, that's what that is. Our policy, if anybody's read the handbook policy, is that personal days never get rolled over. So that isn't in.
But vacation days don't roll over either.
Vacation days, if anybody over 10 years, seniority.
You get paid for, in lieu of 5 days.
Yep. My personal opinion on this is, when we hire these guys and we show them a employment package and we tell them that they get a week of vacation after a year, and after 3 years they get 2 weeks of vacation, and after 4 years, 5 years they get 3, and so on. We're giving, essentially, that's their vacation time. And I don't think we should ever take that away from them. I think if they don't use it, they should get paid for it, regardless. The unfortunate side of that, to flip that totally on the opposite side of it, is right now that could, if nobody took vacation in a year, could add roughly 15 weeks of salaries into a budget that is struggling. So we encourage them to take their vacation, and unfortunately they don't. I think.
Does this mean that we're going to write, I mean, if assuming that we said, yes, let's give them the time, do we write them a check, or do they just get more extra vacation days?
We would write them
So
a
they could
check.
take like a month off?
We would write them a check, is what that
So
would be.
this is
They get cashed out at the end of the year for unused days. That's what I believe you were asking, right, Sam? Currently the policy doesn't state that. It hasn't in the past. If you look at the study, it shows that in the past there was more days unused than this year. But I go back to, I think that's their time and they should have it. And again, unfortunately, that rolls back in, can our budget afford what essentially could be 15 unused weeks, or that we would have to cash out at the end of the year. I think whatever we do, because it's not an action item for today, and unless somebody amends the agenda again,
No.
I think the policy needs to truly be looked at pretty hard in that and come up with something really good. And I think sitting down with Sam and his guys to know what they expect of us, would probably be a good idea.
You gave it the number of 15 weeks of salary. Is that based on 5 employees?
Roughly, what do you have Sam with 5 weeks now, Sam?
6.
5 or 6. You got, Steve just behind him with 5 or 6. Scott's got 2. Scott's got 3. Jeff's got 2. Rachel has 1. When you start adding them up, you're roughly 15.
Can I chime in here?
Go ahead, sure.
I've been on the payroll for 24 years. I've been the superintendent for 14 years. I've never come to you guys in 14 years and asked you to pay me. This is the first time ever. If you go back through what Joe just supplied you, I don't know if you broke it down by persons.
Yep.
You'll see where I probably give back for the last 10 years, 7 to 10 days. Somewhere on the average, I've given back to you guys. This year, I didn't get an opportunity to at least try to take them, and that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to amend our personnel policy, because we might go 10 years before we run into this again.
I think,
Well,
I think we need to review it a little further, and we can put it on an action item for next meeting. We don't
Sam,
have
can
to
I get with you and you guys to?
So what are you telling us? You're not going to pay us?
No.
No, we're saying we want to talk.
No, they want more time to review it and find, if we decide the majority of us wanna do it,
No.
then we gotta find the money.
There was a reason why I brought it up last month, so we could put it to bed,
I understand.
and I see that went nowhere.
Well, we didn't have this data last month. We didn't have this sheet or really know anything about it. It was just a cost, so.
Chris, I'll stop.
Yeah, in my companies, what I have is, there is unforeseen circumstances like Sam had, to where you have to work and you can't get off, and it's a necessity that you keep working and not take your vacation. So what we do is we allow 80 hours that you can carry over to the following year, but you still gotta take it before the end of the year. So hopefully that next year, but 80 is the cutoff, but at least it gives you some kind of a flex there. So we allow them to accrue 80 that falls into the next year. And it's a simple way of doing it, you know what I mean?
Instead of cashing them out on
They just
it,
get more time
they
off.
just get more time.
Yeah.
The problem that I've seen with that in other companies and some of mine is people they'll hold off not taking any vacation, they bank it for this year, and then they come up to their next year, and now they've got 2 months off, and they're gone. So, I go back to, I think that's part of their employment package, I think that's part of their money, and I don't think it should ever have been taken, but right now, the policy says we don't, and it's, until we can review it more and know exactly the cost of that. I think for 5 days of Sam that he's looking for, 4 of Jeff or Steve, whatever that is, it's not gonna be astronomical, it's not gonna break Central Lake to do this year. But I believe that if we do it, it's gonna set a slight precedence, and we need to then make the policy to know that we either gonna pay them, and that's what happens every year, or we say, no, we're not paying it and not gonna do it.
And come back with a plan.
I understand what Sam is saying, and I agree. My company does not lose their vacation, and I think it's wrong that the
I
guys.
totally disagree with that.
Sharon?
And what we had in our company was, I was up to 5 weeks. If I chose to work those, fine, but before, they did never carry over. I got paid at the end of the year, my 5 weeks, if I worked through them. And if you have worked as long as Sam has and cannot take it, he should be paid for the time he works, and he should be paid for his vacation, in my opinion.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that, but I think we need to review the procedure and make sure, like Joe says, that if we do this, that everybody's square as to how it's gonna go down in the future.
We have to do it now, we have to find the money.
Larry, can I just say one thing? Because we talked about it years before. As you make your decision, there's a lot of good information out there. I just encourage you
See you later.
to look into why you give employees vacation time and why you try to get them to take it. There's a reason why you don't just give them a raise, okay? Because you're talking about paying the money compared to taking a vacation. There's a reason you encourage your employees to take vacation time during the year.
Correct.
So give that some thought. You want them to take a break, You encourage them to do so. So I'm just saying, your whole policy probably needs looked at. It probably has for years, but just really do your homework and think about what vacation time is really intended to do for your employees.
Many times, workers cannot take
Now,
it.
if I'm looking at this correctly, because this would have been in last year's fiscal year, these monies that would be paid would have to look at that current time, correct? So we're not talking about this year's budget, we'd be talking about 2014. But it's,
How do we go back in and get monies out before we do
well, yeah, it's just on fund balance is what I would say, like you just pulled that amount from the fund balance to bring it in the salary. Well, it will be fund balance.
That's what I mean, there's nothing to do with.
With this information and a more thorough review of the current policy, I want one more month, so we can deal with it at that point. That will be an action item.
I think it's important, Sam, to understand that's not any indication that we're not in
Doing-
favor of it,
All right,
not at all. It's
But
just a
if we don't do anything on
procedural.
last year, what's gonna happen to that 84 hours that he has
Well,
coming?
he'll get reimbursed for it, so if that's what we chose to do, then he can still get reimbursed for them.
We just need to make sure our ducks are in order and that everything is lined up right here. And I'm for you, Sam, we just gotta make sure it's
Well, I
right.
agree, Jake.
Yeah, I know what's gonna happen.
That's how much I hate them.
You're gonna roll my hours over, which at this point, I'm gonna end up next year giving you back 17 or 20 days. Because I get so many days off, I cannot get away. That's my problem. We're only 3 people. If we were 7, 8, 9, 10 people, I could understand it, but we're not. We're only 3. And I just want you guys to understand my point, that's all.
Right.
So I'm
No, and
fine,
I
next
agree
month.
with you.
He should be paid. Anything left
I
over
think
should be
everybody's
paid.
for that, I don't think anybody's against it, I think that it's just, we gotta make sure everything's proper and in order and.
Okay.
public comment. Yes, Dan?
I just have 2 things that I said here. One is, we have a pod over at the sheriff's office and also in Elk Rapids, it's a point of drop, and it's for prescription drugs. We have one in the sheriff's administration, 8 to 5, and there's one in Elk Rapids at their PD. We're also doing, the DEA has done it for years, they have dropped a grant. Our office is picking that up and doing an outside one on Saturday the 25th from 10 to 2, just so everybody's aware of it. Basically what you can do is bring prescription pills. We do not take needles, please don't bring them. But we bring pills in, we'll be in the parking lot at the courthouse from 10 to 2 on the 25th. So, and the only other thing that I wanted to bring your attention to, maybe some of you know it and maybe some of you don't and don't care, I don't know, but there has been a thing passed by the governor for the concealed weapons. For those who carry or are going to, as of December 1st, the gun boards have been abolished. If you will, basically it'll all be done to the clerk's office. Again, that'll start December 1st. You'll go in the clerk's office, pick up your packets, throw everything out, get fingerprinted at our office. It's still the same fees though, so it's all still there. You'll then go back to the clerk's office, everything will be done to the state police and they'll be handed out there. So, just so you're aware of it, that's only 2 things I really had. Any questions? Any questions on the board about anything at the sheriff's office?
They have a drop here at the local pharmacy too.
Yes, they do. Some of your pharmacies locally do have that, that's true. I just want you to know that we have the one on Saturday on the 25th. So. Yeah, but they do, yes. I think they take needles. I think they have a red box and you can drop needles.
The pharmacy will, it's a yellow jug, it'll only
Yellow
take
jug, I'm
certain-
sorry.
It only takes certain prescriptions,
Certain
not
prescriptions.
all narcotics.
We take everything except for the needles, just so you know. Thank you.
You got any icebreakers in your fleet?
But nice try, thank you.
What does the person do with the needles if they found them?
Excuse me?
What does the person do with the needles if they found them? And I've had many people ask me these questions.
Your pharmacies, I believe, are the ones that have the, is it yellow you said, or is
Yeah,
it?
they do.
I believe they take it, it's a yellow container, or red container.
No, that's
So
just pills.
I don't know.
It's just drugs.
The yellow jug is non-narcotic
Okay.
prescription.
I don't know about the pharmacy.
Because I've had people ask, can you take them to the doctor's office because I can't do it? And I didn't know.
I don't have that answer. I can find out for you, though, Joe. I'm more than happy to find out.
I found a way to get rid of them, so. it's-
I don't know.
Now, I bought this house and I had 2 big totes of these needles in this house when I was cleaning it out.
But I'll find out.
I'm not,
I'll find out, let you know, so.
well, not that I admit, they're not mine.
We put them in a sharps container,
Yeah, it's a sharps container, but I don't know who has a sharps
then
container.
we send that to the hospital with the ambulance next time it comes.
What who has a sharp container, does the health center in Bel Air, for example, that, or up here, I don't know that. I guess what he's asking.
No, I don't think the, health
Well,
center does.
you can get those containers, I'm not sure where, we get them from the,
I am not, I
supply.
would say I'm not interested in handling needles.
I don't know
Neither
where-
was I, that's why I got rid of them.
I don't wanna get messed with it. I really don't. It's bad news. So anyway,
Thanks.
what else did I find out for? Thank
People
you.
that use a lot of them, like diabetics and that's what they'll use a sharps container to keep them in, and then container sealed and
They should put off.
sent to the.
Okay, I think we need to talk about the chickens.
No chicken broth.
Little chicken talk. We're not gonna make any decisions tonight, I'll say that for sure.
So is this open now?
Oh,
I'm
Is
sorry.
it open?
Hi, guys.
Go ahead.
You know who I am. Hi.
Oh, wait.
I only have a few minutes, well, I only have 3 minutes, so I'll make it in 1. I literally did not know that I was disobeying the chicken law in town because I quit following this thing, you know, a few years ago, hi Ray, when it got crazy. And I have literally had 2 hens every summer at my North Street house, and I've lived here 2 summers, and this will be my 3rd. And I swear to you, God is my judge, I did not know I was being illegal. Apparently, my chicken policeman didn't find me.
Wasn't me.
And honest to God, I got the cutest little tiny thing, and they're down there, and I did not know there was an issue until she had hens, and she lives like 500 feet back of North Street where I used to live, and she backs up to our 500 by whatever piece lot, and I go back there and I suddenly heard that she didn't have chickens. And she had 5, 6, 4. And I said, well, why don't you have them anymore? I love going back there. And you couldn't see them from North Street, and you couldn't even actually see them from our empty lot. She said we had to get rid of them because the village banned them. Somewhere in my craziness, I missed this. And I went, shit, no, have your hens. It's our property, it's your property, it's not on anybody's. Then the feather thing came, and then this crazy, and it was all because I wrote online, old woman, let's talk chicken, or let's whatever. I swear to you, I can't believe that this entire village is in this craziness over maybe 20 of us, maybe 5 of us having a couple of hens. And I'm going to let Scott know right now whether this passes or not. I will hide mine. I will have the cutest.
They'll come in the
I
house.
have the
What do you
cutest.
do with them at the end of the season?
I give them to a farmer. I buy them
You
from a
don't kill
farmer.
them?
Never.
They're pets. You gotta understand.
I have
women.
got 8 grandchildren who come to Grandma's house for
They lose their kids,
chickens
so they get
every year,
chickens.
and have probably for 12 years, something like that. No, I'm box officing, but I cannot believe this is even an issue in this little friggin' village. And someone online wrote, oh my God, what about feather allergies? Well, then don't come to my yard. And what about, what if every person in Central Lake, there's 900, that would be 1,800 chickens spread out, which you know that there's only like 5 of us who want a few hens. It is so ridiculous that you guys are even, someone here made it illegal. I'm doing it. And I challenge Scott right now to come to my house this summer, find my hens, because I will have 2 hens. And someone said to me, well, you know, then the village can, I got 1 more minute, village can then fine you and fine you and fine you. And finally you would be like cursing the law, and I could end up in jail. And I said, well, I'll get this televised, and then I will go to jail in Central Lake for not having 2 hens every summer for my grandchildren that are like pets. In the cutest thing, I got a cute house. I have a cute yard. I'm going to have 2 cute hens. I gotta go. Hi.
Just one thing, because when you say that group up there, Sharon, trust me, that ordinance has been on the books for a long time. People probably didn't know it. Don't point at them and say they did it. They haven't even had the chance to discuss it. I just want everybody to know
Someone
that.
told me that it was illegal as of a few years ago.
Oh my gosh, no, that goes, I'll bet back to the 80s. Seriously, it's been there.
Back when you were on the council, yeah.
Probably when you were on there, Sharon, it was
I
there.
had hens when I was on.
That's what I'm saying, so it's been there.
Did you read the ordinance, you
Yeah.
guys?
Well, then someone changed it since then, that
No.
she had to,
Nope.
well, then who went around town and
We
made
hired
her
an
get rid of her
enforcement
chickens?
officer.
Well, who the heck's that?
Scott's partner.
Hey, I wanna know
My
who's
name
the
is Scott.
enforcement
My name is
person.
Scott.
Hold on.
No, who went to our private property out back and found a private thing that we were storing, a motorhome, and found her chickens. And, you know, this is interesting too. Who's the person that's doing that in town?
Bob and I.
He is
That's
our-
what I was thinking.
Bob is our enforcement officer. Did he
Okay.
run through your yard and do all that? I don't know
We
that,
have-
so.
No,
We
they're
have,
visible by the road, so,
no,
yeah.
the only way you can get into our back property, it says Fletcher Park Private. And that whole, almost 20 acres back there. And the only way that they would ever found Cindy's chickens or the motorhome that we were storing for some people downstate, back of our property back there, and it says private. And Scott was kind enough to say, come to me and say, you know what, you're gonna get this letter of whatever, and I loved him for that. I think the world of him. But nobody would have seen that had it not been for then Burnett. So I think you guys have got to discuss this with Burnett, because he cannot go into private property.
He didn't, and I'll show you a picture of where the camper was sitting, invisible by Cedar Street easily. It was sitting alongside your fence, belong next to your property and
Backed up to the fence.
next to the
Cedar,
property.
I'm on Cedar. Where the cement ends is private property. The cement ends at that last house. And there's a,
No one's,
I got all the papers on Bob that he followed.
but anyway, nobody would see her chickens if they weren't back there, so I gotta go.
which is the wrong answer to it.
Huh?
Sharon, quick question for you.
No, I gotta go.
Before you leave, Sharon, how big's your parcel that you had your chickens on? You said you had 20 acres.
There's 18 point some acres, and they were free ranging over there. 17.9 acres.
Okay.
I had 2 hens.
2 hens on 17.9
Mhm.
acres.
I have a 500, I think by 500 now. I moved to where I am now on, and it's all fenced in, and those 2 little hens are fenced in. Within the fence, in a cute, charming little thing,
Thank you.
and that's 2. I gotta go.
I'm not real familiar with the farming practices of hens, but I assume that you keep them outside and not inside your house?
Oh, God.
Don't go there.
Yeah, Larry, that's a
In
great
cages.
discussion.
We're coming.
Yes, they are.
Bye.
Inside my house.
I've seen it there.
I was gonna say, Sharon, there's a few places around here that wouldn't,
I'm not that trailer that used to be on the way to.
I understand.
Hey.
And my other concern with it, and I'll be forthright, I'm not real in favor of allowing it. But if several people move in, or not several people who are here and move in chickens, if it's 2 or 4 or whatever, we have wild animals in this area, and I think that coyote would start coming into town, which they have already in the past. We've seen them in the past. And I think that's a bigger concern, because if you have those things coming in, they're looking at dogs, they're looking at cats, they're looking at anything that's food for them.
Chicken hawks.
Or a little kid might be out playing outside someday. So,
My neighbor's dog got grabbed.
Scott,
one
go ahead.
day.
Let me just go on record as saying, we don't snoop around people's yards and find people to pick on individual. You guys have an ordinance, it has to be enforced, and in order to do it fair, it is enforced from one end of town to the other end of town. Issues that were brought up are not even relevant because they're not even true, but if you guys choose to change the ordinance and put chickens to where they can, I don't really care. It's just something that has to be enforced fair and consistently, and that's what Bob is trying to do, is to enforce things fair and consistently. The problem with chickens is 2 years ago it led into ducks and roosters and, and all of those things are addressed in the ordinance too. So I guess you gotta find out where the, tolerance is and what you guys are going to allow, because, the comment was, somebody had chickens, why can't I have a duck? And both of those were in the ordinance, and we had to address that issue too, because that was right on State Street, and that became the issue the last time. So, everything gets directed back towards the police department, because we're the dirty, rotten, nasty people that pick on people, but it's your guys' ordinance that you guys created, and it's just our job to enforce it, so.
Understood from this side of the table.
Thank you.
Scott, I got the utmost faith in Bob that he's doing what we asked him to do.
Yeah, and
And you can relay.
in the
that.
two allegations, I'll even show you complaint numbers that go along with those two allegations that will show you something different, but, I guess I don't appreciate the allegations, so.
And I do have a question for you, though, Scott, too. In our ordinance, not only do we have the no farm animals, ducks, hens, chickens, donkeys, pigs, all the other stuff, there's also the section in there in exotic animals. Have you read that one and able to define that specifically for us?
I didn't create it, so I would imagine if you want a clear definition of it.
I'm
Brian
just
Graham
curious
would give you
if you knew what that was or not, because from the definition. that
Well, I would
read,
say
it's pretty
something
much
like-
any animal that is not domesticated as a pet.
that. What about
I
a
think
boa
boa
constrictor?
constrictors are
Yeah.
exact.
An alligator.
I think the purpose of a
Person
domesticated
can't have
pet.
a lizard at home?
Right.
That's.
I've got to read the ordinance, because I don't know for sure the definition, and I'm not gonna clarify it, I'm just asking.
Well,
I think we definitely need to look at that.
Because nobody read our ordinances or looks to know.
yeah, but I think
if
a lizard would be
exotic
something that you would have inside your house, that would be in a aquarium, that would be a pet.
Well, it can get out,
He's looking online right now.
gators get out all the time.
Okay.
And can I make a
Yes.
quick comment? Currently, at least from how I understand things, the ordinance to me doesn't even fall in line with the current zoning for residential area. And from what I'm understanding, permitted uses, our zoning allows for agricultural use within the residential district. So why there would have been an ordinance against like chickens, that doesn't even make sense to me if I'm understanding the zoning correctly.
That's why we're not making any decisions tonight, we're gonna discuss it.
Right.
We're getting, I'm trying to get a feel of why you're asking what you're asking for. And,
Because I would like to have a couple chickens and have fresh eggs and.
And that's why I would want some if I chose to have some, but
but I
I'm
also,
still in the phase where I'm not even sure if I'm gonna reside in the village anymore, because I really.
Well, there's 68 Central Lake people who've signed this petition, which, remember when this came before, when Janet Hickman was here and brought it up, and I think Joe and Kenny said at the time, hey, if you come up with 10% of the people here, at the time it was 900, so they suggested 90 signatures, something like that, then to come back and talk to us. This is pretty close to that.
Oh,
They
they're doing
provided
exactly
the
what they're
data,
supposed
they've
to.
referenced the Traverse City ordinance, I mean, I think there's some very good things to it, but I think there's some blanks here that need to be filled in before any of us can say, go get chicken. So I'm glad this is here.
Hey, and I totally support that it really should be discussed and thought out, and
How many did you say, Missy?
Pardon?
How many did you say were in the
How many,
village?
6 signatures?
Yes,
She's got 68.
because I heard the
In
number was.
village, but there's many more. There's, I don't know how many
Okay.
total there is here. It's 1, 2, bunch of pages.
Because that goes to confusion, because the number I heard was considerably less than 68. I mean,
No, I just counted them. It says Central Lake right next to their name. Well, if they're, I don't know if they're in the village or the township.
that's what, I heard the number in the village was more like 38. I'm just saying, that's where all the confusion, I'm glad you guys are sorting it out, and I'm not part of it, to tell you the truth. It's a touchy issue, and I hope everybody understands that. It's
It
gonna,
doesn't say
Village or
village or
township.
township, it just says Central Lake.
Some of the people that even are in the township, and I'm gonna use Mary Loper for example, she lives out in the township, but she owns a home in the village, and she supports the petition. So, there's this big issue about all these signatures, and a lot of people doing petitions, especially, you know, where, with the platform I use, the change.org, yes, ideally you want more of your people in your area you're trying to make change, support that. The change.org site is more of a statewide and support countrywide. Lots of people will support,
It's not
will
based
support,
on a zip code or.
right. And it was easier to use the change.org platform because it was online and it was the easiest for people to access. And it's hard for me right now to even speak publicly to all of you. I have a very difficult time going out knocking door to door, and then I wonder if I'm violating the peddler's ordinance because trying to get signatures for a petition, you know.
I think you started it correctly, and you brought it to the board, and now we've got a long process to figure out. I don't think it's gonna be anything easy, it's not gonna be simple, it's gonna make some people mad and other people happy, and.
And if you have any suggestions on any type of clarification you want, I would be more than happy to try and work and resolve that for the board to help them make their decision.
You don't have to have a rooster in order to have
No,
that.
no.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm not a farmer.
I don't like roosters, they're mean hens.
Yes.
I think the roosters are way too.
As a village resident, I would ask that it not be
New
changed.
hens.
I don't want chickens next door.
If you're raising chickens, you have to have a rooster fertilize the hens.
If you're.
Once
Not
you
for
get
eggs.
started, oh, yeah.
No, they may lay eggs about roosters.
Only if you're trying to.
Only not trying to have chickens.
If you're just looking for chickens.
That's all I need, that's all I want.
That's always true.
So you get exotic.
Yeah, any animal that isn't indigenous to the area.
And that's exotic, oh, yeah.
That's enough
So I
conversation.
just want to say I appreciate you considering it.
Yes.
And thank you.
You put us here to make those big decisions. Okay. There's nothing left on the agenda. Been moved and supported to adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all for coming.
What do we call when somebody's going to work?
I know it's. So there's different orders there, so we gotta separate those two, that, also, the